One of the most important things that we need to learn in nonviolent communication is what it is that gets in the way of our ability to resolve differences, to really hear each other, and to connect. Marshall Rosenberg has developed these 4 steps that are so useful. They are observation, feeling, needs, request. Now, the thing is, if all we do is learn how to apply that without looking at how are we thinking and speaking already before we come to using those 4 steps, what is it that interferes and gets in the way? How am I getting in my own way? Now, one of the things to really pay attention to is how we're doing things for others and how we say yes. Are we saying yes out of submission? Just check that out. And when we say no, are we saying it out of rebellion? Another thing to track. So anything that we're doing out of submission or rebellion really constitutes a loss of power, if you will. We're not bringing the best of ourselves to the situation. Marshall used to encourage that we would never say yes unless we could say it from a place of recognizing that we would be meeting needs. So in other words, we don't want to find ourselves saying things like, all right, I'll do it. We don't want other people to say that to us. All right, I'll do it. Anytime people are agreeing to do things from that energy, there is the resentment that is seeping in there. And with that is the loss of goodwill. There's the erosion of goodwill, which is what we want to maintain in any healthy and nurturing relationship. Marshall used to travel with a guitar and he'd sing songs, and one of the songs he sang was called Song from Brett. And this was a piece that he had written based on an exchange he had with his son, who at the time was 16 years old. And I'll recite it for you. If I clearly understand you intend no demand, I'll usually respond when you call, but when you come across like a high and mighty boss, you'll feel like you ran into a wall. And when you remind me so piously about all the things you've done for me, you better get ready. Here comes another bout. Then you can shout, you can spit, moan, groan, and throw a fit. I still won't take the garbage out. Now, even if you should change your style, it's going to take me a little while before I can forgive and forget, because it seems to me that you didn't see me as human too until all your standards were met. That's a really powerful piece. It so poignantly illustrates the dynamic that comes up between people when they've lost touch with their capacity to give naturally. So we want to track that. Most of us have been on the giving and receiving end of that and may well continue to be on the giving and receiving end. But what you can do is increase your ability to recognize it when it's happening. So we want to check. When I say yes, when I say no, and when others say yes and no to me, what's happening between us? What's happening in that space between us? We want to make sure that we have the goodwill, the currency of goodwill, instead of the resentment that so often can destroy and undermine good relationships. So the other piece I want to say about that is that it's fine and good to learn the 4 steps of NVC, the observation, the feeling, need, and request. But that isn't NVC. It's not what it is. It's recognizing the ways in which we are not able to actually employ those 4 steps in alignment with what the underlying spirit is, which is to understand where people are coming from, where we are each coming from. And so I want to just emphasize how important it is to look at our own, let's say, template that's inside of us. Many people will say, hey, I don't want to use a formula when I'm speaking. But what makes a person think they're not using a formula? Most of us are using a formula. It's simply so habitual that we don't recognize it as such. What is the formula? We use the 4 Ds of disconnection. We diagnose other people. We make demands. We deny personal responsibility, and we use the deserve thinking. I just want to encourage you to think about that. Think about the formulas that you are already using that get in the way of you being able to connect.